Hey friends, welcome to the Raising Boys and Girls podcast. I'm Sissy Goff.
And I'm David Thomas.
And I'm Melissa Trevathan.
And we're so glad you joined us for this conversation. Let's dive in. Raised in Alabama as pastors' kids and now residing in Nashville, CAIN, Madison Cain Johnson, Taylor Cain Matz, and Logan Cain have hit number one back-to-back on the radio with their first two singles, Rise Up and Yes He Can. Both songs from their full-length album, Rise Up. Additionally, their viral single, I'm So Blessed, took over the streaming front, amassing more than 1 million streams each week in 2023. Because of its social media popularity, more than 200,000 people have created videos using the music of I'm So Blessed, accounting for 300 million additional views on social media. To date, they've won a K-Love Fan Award for Top Breakout Single and were nominated for an American Music Award. CAIN also received multiple nods for the GMA Dove Awards in 2022. Their latest project, Jesus Music, was released in October 2023. On the heels of that album's release, CAIN debuted their original series, Chasing CAIN, exclusively through the TBN app. The limited series shared never-before-seen footage of the group, their rise to where they are today, and how they keep faith and family at the forefront of everything they do. Pouring their joy into their music, CAIN has discovered what it's like to live their calling while doing their favorite things, singing about Jesus. Please enjoy our fun, hilarious, and thoughtful conversation with the band CAIN. Let's just start out by you all telling us a little bit about your growing up and your family then and now. Will you start there?
Ooh, yes.
Growing up then and now.
Man, I really do wish Taylor was here. We're siblings. A lot of people are like, why on earth would you name your band CAIN after the first murderer and all that? Didn't think of that at all.
I was going to say that never even occurred to me.
So we have come from a long line of Cains. JP Cain, our high school football stadium is named after him because he was a legendary football coach and principal.
Dad's dad coached the high school football team, was the principal of the middle school. So we're third generation in our little town, and there's one school system. So there's 3 elementary schools, 1 junior high, 1 high school. So it's one of those.
There's an oil painting of him in the
place where the
library.
songs are written about. Yeah. I mean, you said earlier, small town.
Yes.
Little Rock, I mean, medium. And it depends on how suburb you are. Yeah, are you the big city slicker over here? But so growing up in that place, and then, Dad battled with let alone being second generation, and then here we come third generation, and my dad very much just rode to Damascus, got called into ministry, like met Jesus 2 weeks before he graduated college, and started a Christian coffee house in our hometown while he was still working. And that progressed to a point where they asked him to become a pastor, so he pastored while being an engineer, double duty for a couple of years, and then finally went into full-time ministry, and that was right before I was born.
Yes.
I'm so young, so if you're guessing at home what year that was,
last year.
It's really recent.
We're really young.
And you're the oldest.
I'm the youngest.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know the.
I feel like it was a bit of like a birth control learning curve or something, because it was like Taylor, and then 14 months later, me, and then 16 months later, Logan.
Wow.
And it was, I think Taylor was planned.
Okay.
And then I think I ended up asking Mom later, once I got married, I'm like, let's be so for real. I don't want that to happen to me. I think that we were either Taylor was surprised, but I mean, all surprises, all
you know
very
what they say,
close.
if at first you don't succeed, you try and try again. And
Yes, right.
Then when I was born, there were no more kids. So I think the resume speaks for itself. But that's why we're laughing that Taylor's not here, is because Madison is the absolute perfect middle man, if you will, to the two of us. Mm-hmm. And then Taylor and I, that's how I always said it was like, Taylor and I, our highs are so high and our lows are low. That's gotten better as we've grown, and there's not so much like proximity to flesh out the lows, and you learn how to be like professional business partners as well as friends, as well as siblings. And so we've worked a lot of that out and kind of actually learned, like, how can I be better? What's the baggage here? Because we carried a lot of emotional baggage, the two of us, just from the history of, we shared one room in our first house.
Oh yeah.
Wow. All three of you.
All three of
Yes.
us. And then
I don't think that was like a parental choice. I think that's like where
that was a
they
necessity
were.
for sure.
And so we all three shared a bedroom for a while. So I think it was 11, 10, 9 when mom and dad were able to get a new house.
Dad built our new house, and there was...
and we were homeschooled. And so we really were just like, here's my desk and here are my friends,
Yeah, we were
very close.
I said we were the most homeschooled. We went to like a Tuesday co-op like you do with homeschools.
Mm-hmm.
And I do even remember feeling like we were like, we're not these homeschool kids.
Yeah,
like we're different. Shout out to you guys if you're watching on the Tuesday group. We were the same as you.
Homeschool skate day, so it was like us, the homeschool kids, and then there was like the skirts, like the skirts and the milking.
So,
and, you know what I mean?
Livestock, guys. That's livestock.
So, but yeah, we were like, oh my gosh, we're the black sheep. Like we're so. Until I went to public school, I'm like, I don't know anything.
Right.
I don't know anything. I'm so sheltered.
We had TV Guardian.
Oh,
I don't know if y'all remember TV Guardian.
I remember.
And, I mean, we were like, we thought we were rough and tough in the homeschool community until we went to public school. And even in the early 2000s, it was like, we were talking about social media. I mean, I don't know how some of these kids had access to some of this language, but we just walked in. We were like, "Where'd y'all hear that from? I don't even know what it means." And Madison was making a list of stuff to like look up on the dial-up internet. Like, what does that even mean?
We had the internet, but I didn't have it on my phone. And I'm like, I don't know whether to laugh or not, and I don't want to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just keep like a rule running list for me to like find out when I get home. So anyway, we skipped over a lot.
And none of this is really the information they're asking for. But yeah, all that is the context.
All right, so for your editor, I'll clap.
So fun.
So fun.
To answer your question, we grew up super close.
Super close.
Homeschooled. Mom and dad were very intentional about being like, friends will come and go, but you'll always have each other.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And don't treat each other as worse than you would your friends, because these are your friends. It's we are so much a product of how we were raised. Like, if we don't just stop and give honor where honor's due, that like we're sitting here talking about kids' books and how we're raising our kids. And it's like so many kids, I say kids generously to people our age, people in their 30s, I think right now are probably a lot of them raising their kids in spite of how they were raised, not in honor or in light of how they were raised. And I think that we just have the good fortune of like, there was just so little about my upbringing that I felt like I needed to overcome. In fact, being homeschooled, pastor's kids in a small town, all this stuff, our parents like shielded us in such a like healthy way. There were definitely some like, I had a tough go my first year of college because I was like, oh, like the feathers have been fanned out of this nest here. Like, mom would regularly like bring something to school if I forgot it at home, or she like took care of us. And in this day and age, you get like, people don't like that. You shouldn't baby your kids. I'm like, well, they're your kids. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if anybody could have grown up with church hurt or grown up with a reason to run away from their faith, it would have been us. But I felt like our parents were very, very, you said intentional, and I think that they were, that like, whether it was sharing that ministry with us and equipping us for the life we have now, or even to the littlest of things, like they didn't let gossip about people that went to our church take place in our home. Because all that stuff is breeding ground for rebellion. And I say that to people now, people kind of jokingly like, what'd your parents do? Or how'd you? And that's what I always say is like, rebellion grows where you are told one thing and shown something else. Like, that's just the beginning of it all. Is you come home on Monday and your parents are dogging out the people they're pastoring on Sunday, and then you just grow up with this disdain and this sort of irreverence for the body of Christ. So all of that kind of culminates. We go to school together, because in your community, they would probably refer to our relationship as codependent, the three of us, I think. We eventually shared a bank account, and we still do in some ways, but yes, we can get to that.
The codependence is, we don't just match our outfits, guys. We match all our preferences and all our choices. My first year of marriage, we were making plans, and my wife's name's Emily, and Emily said, hey, do you want to do such and such or whatever? And I just said, hey, let me check with the girls. And she said, why? And I said, I don't know. I said, I just always have.
I don't know.
So I guess I don't have to. But let me just make sure.
What was the question?
You are answering
Okay, great.
about your growing up and family
Yeah.
then, and now you're totally answering it.
So anyway, I was just trying to segue from all that we just said. We go to college together, share an apartment there. And it was in that apartment that we sang together for the first time because we were part of the worship band growing up in church. But I became a drummer, loved it, always had played drums. And we were one of those churches that had like a wall, you know, so the drummer was not as involved. We were worshiping alone back there and really in the secret place. And Madison played bass and Taylor would play. And so it wasn't until we got to college that we really even sang together. And the girls would sing together because they did it as a part of the worship band. I had never really like found my place with it. And once that happened, we were like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. And I mean, to be honest, there was another family of siblings in our hometown that were kind of known as the like singing family.
Really?
And they would involve Taylor. They would involve Taylor Madison. And I got kicked out of school choir when I was in 10th grade for lack of respect for authority. I think is how they described it, which is something I have never been more offended by and also completely agree with. But I'm working on not raising my daughters that way. Anyway, so we get to school, we sing together for the first time, and that family that was a singing family helped us enter a contest to open for singer-songwriter Dave Barnes, Nashville staple, who we adore as well. Who's great. I would assume in this community, because that's really the first time we met Dave all these years later, was in like a mental health seminar. He came to speak to new artists. And I mean, just so much wisdom. And we talk about it to this day because every now and then we'll encounter somebody in town who was like a part of that event and they were like, oh, no, yeah, we remember you guys. And we were like, we're just sorry for how unprepared we were for the event. Didn't have a band name, didn't have merch. They called us the week of and said, we're going to let you play 3 songs as the opener. And one of them should be an original. And we thought, great. So we have until Wednesday to write that original song.
Oh, no way.
Because this is how I played drums and they played, and we had never really considered this. Because it was like being an astronaut or a professional athlete. This was just something that people did, but definitely not us.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we sit around and write that song and go and open, and you know, the stars didn't align. It wasn't like there wasn't some guy in the back that pulled his shades off and like, you kids are talented, you know, we want to sign you to a contract.
It's kind of embarrassing now. So I graduated college, got a marketing job.
Did you really?
Yeah. I don't know if you remember the franchise Gigi's Cupcakes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was my internship. So I became the marketing coordinator for
Gigi's Cupcakes.
Gigi's Cupcakes. So I was, answering customer emails or whatever. But I really was like, I am doing it. And it was hilarious. So as soon as I waited until Logan graduated and once Taylor and Logan moved up there, I turned in my resignation to be a big star. And I just think that's so funny that everyone there was just like, girl, you don't even know that this is a 10-year town. They took up money for me. They were just like, it was so sweet for them to just be like, best of luck, really. And from that point, we made money by singing in bars. And so that became a process of 5 years of just really trying, almost having some level of success, ultimately not spending more money than we were making.
Singing in bars.
Singing in
were y'all
bars.
CAIN the band by this point?
We were the CAINs.
The CAINs.
Okay, the
So it has really become like some version of CAIN. That's what's so funny is it was like we were the CAINs trio, which is a mouthful, and that was a bad idea.
What a terrible band name.
Yeah. Let's trim it down to the CAINs. And so when we finally became a Christian band, I'm kind of skimming over a lot, but the decision was, let's be realistic. We're not making a living doing music. And I'm 28 years old. It's time for us to be like more realistic about where this is going. I was working at a hair salon, but through that kind of rock bottom moment where I was just crying. I was just like, God, I really thought that there was something here with music. And now I'm just behind and in pretty good amount of credit card debt. And now I need to like get a job. Yeah. But we found a church in Nashville, and it was kind of the first time that we really plugged in as adults, because we had our parents' church. We go home and visit them, but we had never really been like, okay, I'm going to go to church and join a small group and serve on the team and do that kind of stuff. Like we kind of like, I don't know. It just sort of hit me. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm not really the person that I thought I would be. I'm not living the lifestyle. But through that, we joined a worship team. And then anyways, so that's where we met our manager. It was just doing worship. And then through that, we were like, hey, why haven't we even tried to just give this to God? It's not like the churches that we had been to before weren't magical. It's just, it has so much more to do with what the heart you come with, you know?
and walking, like finally allowing God to humble me to a place where I didn't walk in thinking like, all right, what do I have to offer here? I showed up broken, which is like what it was made for. And the church was there for me. And so it's almost like you could take the name off the door. It didn't matter which church it was, but I had allowed God to lead me to that place where it was like, okay, now I can give you that vision again. And I think that's part of, we started in that place and we've tried really hard to stay in that place mentally, emotionally, spiritually, just because it's really easy to get entitled. It's really easy. And that is the absolute antithesis of gratitude. Like it has to be, right? Like I heard somebody say that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference.
Yes.
And so like when I become indifferent toward these people that I'm supposed to love, then that's where I'm like in my most dangerous place, is I'm standing on a platform that was built for him that he's allowing me to use, and I've become indifferent towards the people that I'm looking at. It's like danger, 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 warning, warning. So so we just try to stay there. And I like the accusation that we're like naive or that we're green or that it'll wear off, because it's a reminder for me of like, I would like for someday my career to end and I to still be described as green and naive, and that it'll wear off, because I don't know, I just felt something shift. We did something 2 summers ago in a post-COVID world where there were limitations and only 75 people could come. And it was one of my favorite events ever. And I felt like a gong in my spirit of like, if it's always going to have to be bigger, better, louder, more, then it won't ever be enough.
Yeah.
But to be able to like gather in that capacity and feel like, wow, like I changed. This changed me. It was like, it changed what my hopes and dreams were for our career. So that's quite a long, we almost didn't take a single breath answer. If it's usable, it's usable. But
amazing.
Please edit that down. I wanted to talk back and forth. I'm sorry.
Incredible.
It's so good to hear.
To get to hear the story of how and where it started, and to think about where you all are now, like that timeline. We love to ask you just, your career, awards, nominations, hit songs. You played stages from Red Rocks to the Ryman. Like, do you have any career highlights that have stayed with you? Hearing you share that story made me wonder just about moments that have really stayed with you all through this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it still hits me. I think that maybe other people are different, but you never feel at all like you have made it. And it's not even like a humble thing. It's like you put your head down and you do all this stuff, and then every now and then you look up and you'll be like, oh wow, people really have listened to the song, connected to the song. And I think that when we decided, okay, singing in the worship band is enough, writing songs for church is enough, I assumed that Ryman, the Opry, Red Rocks, like that kind of stuff was done. But that's okay, because it wasn't bringing that much to my life now. But it's really wild to think of what God has brought back. And a few months ago, we performed for the CAIN Fan Awards. And afterwards, Phil Wickham came up and was like, I love the song. And I'm like, freaking out. You're talking to me, you know. Or we got to write a song with Brooke Lidgertwood the other day, and I just was, and she was like, when we were walking out, she's like, "Can I pray for you guys?" And people that we meet in the industry, artists that we really care about, rock. They're really great. Well, we've just met some Toby Mac, the least competitive person. He's so competitive, but not career competitive.
Uses it. Yeah.
He loves
it. Actually speaks. It speaks to how meaningful it is that he's not competitive with his career because of what a competitive athlete and a competitive person he is. But I didn't grow up. To this day, I don't listen to that much music. When I'm in a creative season, I listen more, but I like to listen to people talk. I think it's because I never shut up when I'm in my real life. So it's like I have to listen to podcasts and people talk. But more so than I said that to say I didn't grow up as much with I didn't have the Beatles White Album or whatever. I didn't have a thing that was my muse. And as by proxy, I didn't super have venues and things. But I will say milestone wise, definitely the people, getting a chance to meet people that impact. I mean, I met, do you guys know who Chris Kilala is? He was the voice of Jesus Culture, or what that guy with Kim Walker Smith.
Yes.
And I got to meet him last month, and I said, "Chris, your voice was with me on some of my darkest days." And getting a chance to touch hands and connect with people and say on those days when you were hoping this music was impacting one person, it was me. That's been so special to get to meet those people. And also a little bit, I try to not, here we are sitting dropping names nonstop, but
I'm excited.
I try to not, because those are little treasures for me. I get to hold, I want to feel like a safe person to other artists. But last week, I mean, here we go. I'm such a sappy dad. But my oldest has started listening to our album in the car. That's what she's asking for.
So sweet.
And we have a song called Made for Heaven, and she started asking for Made for Heaven. And when she asked for it, and I clicked it on, and my voice came through the radio, and I thought, I just kind of was hanging on the steering wheel, and I was I want to just remember that, what a miracle that anybody in the world with access to the internet at any time could hear a song that we wrote, and my voice. And I used to really battle, even up until a couple of years ago, with my identity and my ability to sing. I had some anxiety-based kind of tinnitus in my ears, and I would lose my tonal center, and I just really wrestled with am I a good singer? I even had resigned to okay, God, maybe I'm not a great singer, but you can use me in another way. I had really gone there mentally, and so anyway, just to have that kind of, he brought me out of that, and then to hear my voice on the radio and my little girl singing in the backseat, it's that so surpasses any physical place that I get to go. And so I'm hopeful. I mean, it's cool. It's really, really cool to be able to go, and it adds a lot of validity. That makes me really happy. When we're in Denver, and what are you guys here for? I'm well, we're going to play at an event at Red Rocks. Red Rocks? And I go, really? And it's a big deal to people. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity.
I like being recognized. It's really, it's kind of funny, especially, I like it in the way of it's so shocking to me, especially I feel so we wear these matching outfits.
Right.
And I feel when I'm in my super suit, then it's obviously here we are. We're neon orange from head to toe. This is very attention grabbing. But the other day I was getting coffee, had just worked out, left the gym, hair pulled up. And the lady that brought me my coffee, she's like, "I really love your music." And I'm like, I am so shocked that you put together that it's me.
That you recognize us out of context is really funny.
It's just really nice. So I love it in the way of just man, this is cool.
Okay, so one thing we want to ask the two of you about, we get asked about all the time, is sibling conflict. And you said a couple of things your parents did to encourage positive relationships between the three of you.
Okay.
Obviously, you've had hard times along the way, which we would want parents to know that too, that it probably hasn't always been like it is now. But what would you say your parents did that helped, or what encouragement would you give to parents that you think would help?
I think that there are a couple approaches. My parents were kind of the opposite of the laissez-faire, like let them work it out. They weren't going to allow us to beat each other up or, like do any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't remember specific interventions. It was more of just like encouraging each other. I mean, but they would not allow us to yell at each other. There's a lot of emphasis on our friendship not taking each other for granted, not, more than it being like, oh, that's your sibling. It's like, okay, well, that's your best friend through your whole life. So treat with care. And then, but yeah, I think, just intervening in the fights. I wish I had more specific memories, but I just remember Mom saying that of like, we're not going to let you guys just beat up on each other.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, because it's funny, as you were saying that, I kind of had not a different answer, but it's like interesting the perspectives on. I felt like I filter everything through athletics, but I felt like our parents parented us individually and very specifically to each of us. It wasn't so much the like blanket, like we're parenting 3 kids and we're doing it this way. And so there was a part of that felt like, it's funny, we wear matching outfits now. We weren't really forced to, that's all I was going to say, is I didn't feel forced to be friends. One, so that left it quite open. I mean, life left only that door open for us. We were like homeschool pastor's kids, so who you can be buddies with. But also, I didn't feel the pressure as much, even though that's true what you were saying about like, these are your friends, and that stuck out. Like, friends will come and go, but family's forever. And all of that was instilled in us. But then at the same time, it wasn't a lot of like, get over there and hold their hand. And if anything, that was punishment for when we were fighting. They made us hold hands and like sing the Barney song and all this crazy stuff like this. And that we bucked in. But the other part of it that I think I'm hoping to like show my daughters is, I think we had like, there always felt like there was safety in our home because my dad and mom were very clear that like their relationship to each other superseded their individual relationships to us. And it felt like mom and dad were bulletproof. And so that made a lot of safety for us as kids to argue healthily or whatever. And even if they ever argued and it was visible in our house, they made up, and they just demonstrated to us like, you're not going to be able to pull us apart. If mom says no, you're not going to come get a yes from dad, all that stuff. And so as we grew up, even subconsciously, that I had this understanding of like, mom and dad are good. And so our house is a safe place. And I think that made it a lot easier for us to function as siblings, because there wasn't, our ground was level. It's like we felt like peers because there wasn't a favorite kid or anything. It was like, no, mom and dad are the favorites, and then we are equal standing. And so I don't know if that really resonates or makes sense, but as I'm talking it out, I'm like that. I didn't know how badly I needed to feel safe my whole life, really, until I got married. I didn't understand that was like a deep need for me. Probably should have been here talking to y'all more often. We could have just got to that right away. But that's like, part of that, I think, is they parented us. They coached us how we needed to be coached. They parented us one to one individually, and just knew us really, really well and intimately. And so I think it helped us. I didn't feel like I was getting hand-me-down parenting as the third. I felt like they loved me and cared about me and each of us. And
I think we also had the benefit. So my dad being a pastor with flexible hours, and then mom staying home and then homeschooling us, we got a ton of time with our parents.
A ton of time together. That's true.
Ton of time together, taking trips together, do it. Something that I also thought was really going to happen is mom was very careful to say that if she didn't document all of our schoolwork, that the police were going to. So we were very honest about the work that we wrote down, because I was like, I do not want to be taken away. I don't know if people are really investigating homeschool work, but it was Mom didn't throw away anything from kindergarten until we went to public school just so she could prove it. But
funny.
yeah, I thought that was going to be a big deal. It was
fantastic.
The police were not involved at all.
But they might be. If you weren't on it.
They could be.
Right.
I love it. Okay, you all, in addition to the amazing music you make, you have written a children's book. Yes. I'm so blessed, which we love.
Yes, we do. I've already read it to my 5-year-old nephew.
It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Right. When I got it, he loved it.
Okay, good.
Loved it.
Thank you.
Yes.
So talk about how did that come about and what do you hope kids take away from reading it?
It's really been interesting to see how much it's changed. I mean, it's not like, I was going to joke earlier and be like, if you're 20 or older at our shows, like, we don't care about you at all. Like, our demographic has shifted completely. Yeah. No, but I think that what I hope kids take away from it is that just like all along the way, I've been talking about how God has sort of set up these memorial stones for me to go back to. And our version of this was we had like colored flashcards that had scripture written on it. And to this day, I don't even know exactly the chapter and verse, but I know that the name of the Lord is a strong tower and the righteous run to it and are safe.
Our mom did that for us.
Our parents raised us with scripture.
With scripture flashcards.
And so when I had that experience where my 2-year-old was reciting it wasn't like it was an unchristian book, but she was reading line for line a book for me that she couldn't possibly read. And I'm like, okay, this 2-year-old has already absorbed so much of what we're doing at home. And so that's really my hope is like for the kid, it gives them something that they can go back to in their mind and remember these truths, even if it's years and years later. And then for the parents, I hope it's a tool that helps start this process in your home. Like it makes it feel more attainable and achievable. You don't have to like come up with a theology curriculum and but just to be able to get the truth of God in front of your kids' eyes at a very young age, I think we'll start that process.
Yeah. I'm really excited because for the kids that like the song, there's already sort of an open door into them connecting with this book and then putting together the meaning where they may have just liked the song. We tried to pick something that would be really disappointing to us. So Taylor's plans get ruined and everyone forgets my birthday and Logan has a big embarrassment. And so we were just trying to go through, disappointment, feeling rejected, feeling embarrassed, some like really universal feelings that I'm just hoping that as kids experience that in their day, they can kind of visualize things in the book.
Yes.
And yeah, especially just knowing the song and trying to put back to, oh, okay, I'm a child of God, that, sort of center themselves around that. But it's really cool to see my son starting to sing it. I'm so best.
He has like relative perfect pitch too, which is really interesting. Wow. He's like, he can match notes and
that's amazing.
My daughter does not.
But she's got really good stage presence.
She's really strong stage presence. She got that from me, and she sings hard, and it's really cute. She'll come into the house now. So this is Aunt Mad, and then
Aunt Mad.
Taylor is Tay Tay, which is kind of. And so she'll come in and she'll go. Is that you, Aunt Mad? Is that you, Tay Tay? So she's starting to understand a little bit like that it's us.
We had our semi-truck wrapped when we were touring, and it was so cool. I'm holding Cal. He's little, and he goes, Mama, and points at the truck. I'm like,
yes. That's
so I thought it would be really cool on stage to like go up to him, and that was scary for him. So he didn't put that together. So maybe now, but it was sort of like, hey, who is this person charging me? I thought, okay, this will be a cool moment. We'll touch hands while I'm performing, and he's like, "That you're a stranger. I don't know you,
not quite,
not quite, maybe." So.
Well, I mean, we talk so much emotionally for kids about the power of gratitude and how it changes things. And so I love that the song takes kids back to that place, that's where we land is in a place of gratitude for whose we are. And
no, I mean, I just think that like you said, the song, God is using something that we wrote to teach us still. And just when I'm hearing you say that, and it's like, as much as I want them to just know on face value that they're a child of God, but like you said, to be able to take it that step further and be like, to be thankful that your right standing is bought on the cross. You know what I mean? Like this, I think, opens the door in a really kind of cute and colorful, animated way for parents who might feel like it is kind of daunting to start, even with my own 2-year-old, to start trying to get in place like who Jesus is and what Jesus has done for us. And there's a lot of great resources out there. So we just like anything we've done, we understand. Here's a name I'll drop. Stephen Curtis Chapman's like one of the most impactful people in my life, let alone artist. We got a chance to be a part of his, he won like the BMI Icon Award a couple years ago. He's the only Christian writer to ever win this award. And he wrote a song, of course, for his acceptance speech called A Turtle on a Fence Post. And basically what he said is, if you see a turtle on a fence post, you don't know how it got there, but you know it didn't get there by itself. And we write that book. Wow. And everything that we do, whether it's music or our appearance and now this book, is really just an acknowledgement that we're standing on the shoulders of those that have gone before us. And we're just trying to continue to carry that mantle, because we understand with kids now, like the earlier that you start getting these things in place, then by the time, I mean, it's why we're big church camp kids. It's why we're big, like we're such big believers in understanding that like when you are this age and that spiritual formation is taking place and your brain is like just such fertile ground. Before that was, Dad used to say, the reason we were homeschooled is he said, we wanted you to know who you were before somebody else told you who you were. If this book can be sitting on the shelf and give you an opportunity to like sing a song or start a conversation that leads to more, then it served its purpose. And even if it's something that helps, like my little girl just started having bad dreams every now and then. Like anything that you can do at the end of the day that helps like center around gratitude, center around God's presence, that you are his child. Like that, I just think like every parent needs a good night's sleep. If nothing else, like grab this book and like put a nice bow on the end of the day before you go to bed at least. Yes. And so we're thankful, man. And we have such a good team, like start to finish, from the time that the amount in 5, almost 6 years of us coming up with like harebrained ideas, and like we rush in and we're like we should do this, and this, and they're like, whoa. And so when we come in with a kid's book, and then everybody rallied around us and just saw like immediately what it meant and the passion that we had for it.
Well, it's so good. We could not love it anymore, and all the things that y'all are doing. And there's just been so many great things y'all shared in the last 30 minutes that have been amazing in terms of parenting advice. But we'd love to go there and for you to say, each of you, your favorite parenting advice you've ever been given.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as parenting advice to give, I have none.
Oh, you've said some great things today, for sure.
Well, it's maybe
like a lesson. I can tell you what I learned.
I was going to say, I was going to do like maybe a 2-parter, no shock there. I've not stopped talking, but one of my favorite like parenting things that I ever told early days, like right when my first daughter was about to be born, and I was a little bit intimidated, and I was like, how do I basically, I had told a pastor friend, I was like, okay, there was one time where I tried to explain football to a girl during the game, and I didn't realize how much a lifetime of loving this game had explained the nuance to me that I could not possibly share. It was like, so on 4th down, you always kick. And you're like, well, you don't always kick. And it was like, and I just was panicking about parenting. So I'm like, how am I supposed to like, this person doesn't even speak English yet. So I got to teach them how to talk. And then I got to explain. And I was really nervous anyway. The pastor friend, he said what he did with his kids is he taught his kids values for like what their family is and is not. And that gave him a much bigger like covering, rather than trying to teach specific rules. Like he said, like, our family is generous. So when a situation arises, the kid will learn to lean on the side of generosity rather than like, here's when you give and here's when you don't. Here's when you share. And so that was maybe my most functional like parenting advice I received.
I love that.
Is like to focus on teaching values rather than rules, because it allows your kid to learn more easily, and then also leave space like for the Holy Spirit, who is a great teacher, to actually do the teaching rather than you, the like broken vessel. So you can go, I have a second like thing that I feel like I learned.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Okay, I didn't want to take too long of a turn. I'll be quick with this. At the end of last year, we had flown home from somewhere and we had landed after bedtime. And I was taking literal physical abuse and emotional abuse from my 18-month-old at baggage claim. And I was feeling all of the like public, and we've already discussed, my character in the book doesn't want to be embarrassed. Like, it's true to me. That's why I hate that feeling. And even when people are coming trying to help me, and you just are so aware that you're under the microscope. And I felt the Holy Spirit, like in that moment, say like, you will never again be critical of another parent. And I think that for like people that are expecting to be parents or new parents, it was a lesson that I'll carry forever. It's like, wow. I will never again be critical of someone who is just trying to parent, because it is so hard. It's like the greatest call. It's the reason that we're here on planet Earth, aside from sharing the gospel. You know what I mean? It's like, we're here to parent, and it's hard enough without anybody's judgment or opinion on it. And so I now like just have so much leash for people that are parenting. And it has given me freedom as a parent, because I'm like, I have no critical thing to say about another person's parenting. So that's like, if you want to pick that up, that will do your heart some good.
Yeah.
That's the new one for me.
So true.
Man, I was talking to my friend because I have such a mild-mannered boy that I really kind of thought going into this, I'm talking about being critical. Before you're a parent, you're thinking like, why are they just letting their kid, you have these thoughts. And then when you get into it, you're like, oh, I don't want any memories of me being harsh with him. I don't want there to be like memories of me hurting him. I don't, like that's how like you just really love them. And it's like, I am balancing wanting you to respect authority and to listen to what I'm saying. And I don't want you to grow up and be bad. But I don't want to be mean to you, Right. So I want to love on you. And so I've been trying something like, once he started getting into a little bit of the 2-year-old defiance of just getting really sweet and really small and trying to say what I want versus trying to never say no. Try to be like, oh, okay, let's color on the paper. Oops, let's color on the paper. And just trying to be really sweet, and then just trying to be firm and let him cry and not react to that. And it's working out okay. So I'm really I'm like thankful that in this moment I'm able to be meek and gentle. And I thought that wouldn't work. And I may come back and be like, it didn't.
Right.
It didn't work out. But I'm trying to do the connected thing. We got silly feet. Let's put our feet in the shoes. And it takes more effort. Yes. But it's working out okay. And so anyways, if that's something that if you're out there and you are in that tough part of maybe you have memories of like an adult being stern with you and you're not trying to have that same flashback or memory. I kind of struggle with perfectionism. I've struggled with some little bit of OCD problems, having to learn with having to do some exposure therapy, some different things. So I'm trying my best to not repeat any patterns in my son. I don't know. I can't even give advice because I'll let you know in 18 years if that worked out.
Yeah, right. Because he'll still be living at home.
Great,
but I'm thinking about Jesus and how to use meekness and
gentleness.
And
So we end every episode with something fun and food related.
Ooh,
okay.
Yummy.
So we got a 2-part question. Part 1 is queso or guac. Part 2 is what's your favorite taco?
Okay.
Okay. Queso for sure. I feel like guac is like almost a vegetable, But I like guac, but it's not the main event, I've been getting into like a little fried chicken taco lately.
Chicken taco, no kidding.
Yes, it all started at Taqueria del Sol.
Yes,
but that little yum. I'm like, go get one.
Is this segment should be sponsored?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
Shack,
like what if y'all bleeped out all the names that I was like, you know what that.
The segment brought to you by
little fried chicken taco.
No kidding.
Dip in the queso.
I did not expect that.
That sounds yummy.
So yes, wholeheartedly queso for sure. I'm with you. I'm like, guac's gotta always have something going on, right? It's gotta be table made, or it's gotta have that.
It's gotta have the little chunks in it. If I get my head like that is a green mash.
Toothpaste.
You know what I mean? You have to go ahead
That's
and
baby food.
I need there to be like a little texture in there. I'm gonna get a little weirded out.
I'm just saying, like if I was forced right now, they were like, eat this whole bowl of guac with a spoon, I would struggle. Eat this whole bowl of queso with a spoon, I would be like, I would chip the bowl. I'd eat it so fast. That's one of my core values, I think, is cheese. Now I'm a sucker for like a good old fashioned fish taco. They'll bring you 3 of them, kind of vibes.
Choice.
But I will say that for whatever reason, it's got me in some trouble. Actually, I've I'm in a huge shrimp kick. And shrimp's a little dicier than fish for some reason. I don't know why, but I can go out here and catch you a fish. If somebody's selling you shrimp in Nashville, you got to figure out what water it came from.
How long has that been frozen?
We did an event last month, and there was a chicken option and a shrimp option, and the shrimp was not being partaken. And I felt really bad for the volunteer who was like, y'all want some shrimp? And we're like, listen, it's nothing against you, but nobody wants this shrimp in the middle of Iowa at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Right. No,
excuse me. We are in Denver. Yeah. I do not know how this got here.
Shrimp. So yeah, I'll go for the shrimp if we're coastal.
Agreed.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
This has been so good.
You're so much fun to be with.
Y'all.
Thanks for being sweet to us.
Oh my goodness, you were a delight to spend time with. We really
so
have.
Flexible and
thank you for saying yes to this. You too.
David, what a team we have that we get to call friends who help make this podcast possible.
Amanda Young, our operations manager.
Chris Starrett, our engineer.
Our management team at H Squared.
And we are thrilled to be a part of the That Sounds Fun network.
Our music was created by the insanely talented Dave Haywood of Lady A.
And if this podcast felt helpful to you, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, all the things.
We are grateful for you and cheering you on always.